Hello, welcome to our Wireless News. I'm Roberta Prescott, and my topic is network function virtualization. And to better discuss this, Hello, welcome to our Wireless News. Carriers around the world are adopting, or better said, analyzing the network function virtualization. And to better discuss this and how Latin America carriers are implementing, I'm talking with Fabio Hashimoto from Promonlogicalis. Fabio, this network function virtualization was a concept that started with carriers about a couple of years ago. How NFV involved?
Well, initially it was a concept. From my standpoint, the telcos wanted to experience and make good usage of all the benefits that they have seen evolve successfully in virtualization, especially server virtualization and cloud computing over the years. And they wanted to make good usage of the fact that these technologies, especially virtualization and automation/orchestration, were gaining momentum and being widely adopted, maturing each year. With the other fact that hardware cost, especially commodity hardware, is decreasingly less expensive. So why not use the same concepts that are being used today to virtualize servers to host applications, virtualizing routers, switches, firewalls, load balancers, and other complex network functions inside commodity hardware using hypervisors and such. Makes a lot of sense. Over this time, after they actually wrote the manifest, which is a white paper on Etsy regarding NFV, they've been discussing, from my standpoint of course, and published a second white paper describing in more depth and detail what is the expected architecture of NFV implementation, which goes beyond pure virtualization to add all the other domains that we see normally in cloud computing, like automation and orchestration, hypervisor management and such.
Now, I understand the carrier side about implementing it to reduce time of market, for example. But if we analyze the whole ecosystems of vendors, for example, what could happen with some only network vendors or something, or other kinds of this? Because we are talking about virtualizing functions and becoming a software layer above that.
That is true. That is true. Well, it's hard to foresee future, of course, but I like to draw a parallel, with what we have seen in the server virtualization industry, actually the server market over the years. If you look 10 years ago, maybe, we had a server market that had several big players that were discussing processing in architecture, x86 versus RISC, for example, discussing operating systems, discussing mainframe versus big servers, versus the new blade servers, x86. And when virtualization came around, bringing key applications, the promise of virtualizing key applications into common hardware, what we saw is a wide growth of x86 servers and a wide commoditization as well. So new players showed appeared in this play, and the topic of processing has changed a lot. Nobody was discussing RISC or x86 anymore. It was pure x86, and let's discuss what hypervisor we use. Okay. Years later, what we saw was the emergence of cloud computing, which is basically now the virtualization is mature and it's being used not only in test environments but also in production environment. Why don't we make usage of some of the characteristics, like cloning VMs, for example, backing up and restoring and such, moving VMs, and start doing on-demand provisioning, for example, and orchestration of, so that we can provide infrastructure as a service, real time, online.
So what you're saying is that NFV can change the whole network ecosystem.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. Not only the concept feels right, okay, because from a cost standpoint it makes sense, okay. From a technical standpoint, it does as well, because several of these functions are actually implemented on software. So it does make sense to separate this software layer, for example, and virtualize. And what we have learned over the years, we using virtualization and now using orchestration, automation, of course, and cloud computing, is that the technology is, in the beginning, there's a lot of resistance, but it actually evolves. So I do see, and again, it's impossible to foretell, but if history shows us anything, is that the same way that the market adopted these technologies, NFV is not that different from that. So we should begin experiencing and seeing more and more customers opting to test to virtualize systems, virtualize network functions, okay? And then later, starting rolling out, automatic orchestration-based networks with several functions being virtualized, as the same way as we do on private and public cloud computing. So,
and from carrier's point of view, can they start a project with a little part of their network and deploying it in other parts? I mean, they can choose, for example, machine-to-machine projects to start NFV and then grade it to mobile or fixed or broadband. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just thinking about complexity, for example, you will want to experience this type of application and infrastructure behavior in less complex environments. Okay, so we're talking, for example, less chance to introduce big errors in the network, of course. But you talking about customer premises equipment, for example. Some functions that already are implemented in software, like DHCP, for example, okay, could be performed virtually. PCRF, PCEF, etc., etc. So are good examples of either simpler functions or functions that already are really software-based and sometimes just software embedded in the hardware. So why not start with those, for example? Of course, you're gonna try to leverage this with some other old equipment, for example, that you need to if you need to change a equipment because it's obsolete, for example, or because it needs some capacity, more capacity, for example, why not discuss if it is possible to virtualize, for example?
Great. And my last question, since we are here at Futurecom, I heard some Latin America carriers are doing a proof of concept. What can we expect about adopting this concept over the next 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
2 years, I guess they will have it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think I see already, there are already some actually mature equipment that are already virtualized and are being used, actually. And there are some use cases and specific functions that are being considered more mature by service providers, for example, to virtualize. When you think that service providers not only have their own service network, but they do roll out specific networks for some customers to provide some key infrastructure as a services, some specialized services, for example, I do see the benefits of virtualization and orchestration becoming very, very interesting for them in these models. So, I mean, several of this technology that could be offered as a service, like video conferencing, telepresence, Wi-Fi, and such, have some of key components might be virtualized, and why not? Make good usage, sell one of these solutions as a service, and roll out, provision quickly this new infrastructure to their customers. So, yeah, I do understand that some of these use cases should be implemented next year, maybe.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
I'm Roberta Prescott covering Futurecom 2014. Follow us at virtualize.com.